Jameel Muhammad and Jeff Cardozo dive into the hobby, which is sports cards, trading cards, as well as all other collectibles, right now on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, live from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurriers Gridiron Grille.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. I am Jeff Cardozo here in the Spurriers Gridiron Grille studios. It is a fantastic place. Certainly it is our home, but Jameel Muhammad in his second home up in South Carolina this week. So we'll welcome him in here in a second. Lots to talk about. Love the shirt, the old SC down there underneath. But there is a lot of stuff going on. We've got a really big show for you today. Jimmy Spence from JSA will join us in the second segment. We've got a lot to talk about. I am very naive when it comes to autograph and different types of memorabilia, so he's going to clue us all in, and hopefully some of you as well, to make sure you don't make the same mistakes that I did back in the day. Or maybe I didn't. We'll find that out for sure. It's never a mistake getting to hear the lovely voice of this guy. Jameel, welcome from, I guess, about 5 or 6 hours north of here.
Yeah, we're up in the Carolinas, baby. It's still hot up here. It doesn't get any cooler when you go up north. I thought it might be a little cooler, but there was a hot breeze last night. I was like, well, we don't really have that in Gainesville, but we're doing well. I'm in the new shop for everybody who's watching on the video side. We may do a little bit of this in the third segment where we show off the shop, but this store has been open for 4.5 months now and just continues to grow. We had Julian Phillips here from the Chicago Bulls Friday night. He came in. He played on the courts that are literally right outside here. And like I said, we'll show you that. But Julian Phillips came and signed autographs. And we talked about Coach Billy Donovan, and it was just fun. He's an ex-volunteer guy. We had a bunch of South Carolina Clemson guys. And, of course, I'm a Gator guy. So that was a lot of fun just hanging out with kids at our trade night. He made a lot of people smile. And so just really unique opportunity with this shop because we get a chance to do so much with the courts right out here and all the players that have come through, Zion, Ja, Julian, Bryce McGowan. I mean, there's so many guys in the NBA right now, and just a cool place. Yeah,
really cool opportunity for the kids and families and parents up there to get to meet an NBA guy. And if you were down in here in Gainesville a couple of weeks ago, you got to meet an Olympian, Grant Holloway, out there in the Olympic trials right now. Man, he did his thing. I don't know if you saw the first qualifying race, but it wasn't even close. It was like you and me playing basketball together, and you just schooling me like you always do. I mean, it was just a whooping out there. So really cool for Grant.
Yeah, we got to give him props. I mean, just how hard that man has worked for so long, and then to have the resilience, right? With I think he said unfinished business in his post game or post race interview, just coming back from 4 years ago with the silver medal. So I'm really excited to see what happens in Paris. He was just blazing. It's been fun to watch the Olympic trials. I know we've had a couple other Gators, out there as well. And so, it's a fun time this summer right now with the Olympics. And then, of course, I'm a big soccer head. So Euros going on, Copa America going on, and just being able to follow those teams has been a lot of fun.
Well, and the nutty part about the Olympic trials is you could be the best of the best. And I know there was a race that you saw, and it was a distance race, but one of the favorites fell, and that was literally her only chance to make the Olympic team. You trained for all these years, you go through all these things, and then one little fall or stumble can really jeopardize it. So it may not be a little fair sometimes when it comes to what's happening in the United States, but it does. It weeds out the best of the best, and that's what we saw. And speaking of the best, how about what we were able to watch on Monday night? You got the College World Series final, which, of course, sad that the Gators weren't there, but another SEC team wins. And then you had Game 7 of the Stanley Cups. The Panthers had never won before. They pull it off by a goal. If you watch the last 5 minutes or so of that game, just completely incredible stuff. So you had a 1-point win there, a 1-goal win, and then you had a 1-run win for the College World Series championship. So 2 just really incredible games to cap off a fun week. And now it seems like there's nothing going on except for Major League Baseball and, of course, all the Olympic stuff. But there's always stuff going on in the hobby, and that's what we're here to bring to all of you.
Yeah, so just this past week in general, so many things have come out with it seems like almost weekly we're talking about major things in the hobby like we do with sports. And so just a couple of notes that I had down. The King of the Collectibles show on Netflix has launched. And if you guys know Ken Golden and the Golden Auctions, It follows kind of how they procure and source items. It follows him, and it's kind of wild to see how many people I know mentioning to me, because they know the line of business I'm in. I have cousins in England who've never looked at sports cards, sending me eBay auctions saying, "Is this $1 million card? I saw something similar like it on the Ken Golden Netflix special." And so it's just funny to me to kind of think how collectibles have permeated into, just the norm. And this was never the case 10, 15, 20, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, when we grew up in the 90s and 80s and, collecting cards, and it was a big deal, but there was no internet. So it was still a niche type thing that, dads did, and you had card shops and things like that. And again, it was a good time, but to this level now, the amount of people that know about collectibles, pricing of things, what things are worth, I think we're entering into a very, very unique time. And then I think about just kind of young people, right? Young people who have gotten, the nostalgia of things like video games, the nostalgia of things like anime, that stuff is on the rise. Voice actors. Whoever thought that the actor, the voice behind a certain character would have an autograph that was worth hundreds of dollars. These are kinds of things that we're looking now in the hobby that I think back, I'm like, this was never the case. So that's been really interesting to watch on Netflix and kind of see. I have a couple guys that I know that work at Golden, so kind of cool to see them on the special. Shout out to them. The Anthony Volpe patch, which was the MLB debut patch, they came out with these last year, where guys in their first game, Fanatics puts a little MLB debut patch on their sleeve. They sew it on, and then at the end of the game, they take it off and put it in a card, and they make it a 101 card, and they autograph it. And last year's Chase, the biggest rookie debut patch they had was Anthony Volpe, and so it just got pulled this past week. And there's $150,000 bounty, I think, on it from one of the so that person who pulled it literally can just swap it in now. And that's where we're at now with cards, these golden tickets, right? I mean, it's really cool to see these bounties and that people can really change their lives, from a pack of cards. Another thing, Victor Wembanyama Gold Vinyl 101 out of Optic came out. We talked about Optic releasing last week. Someone pulled that. There's a $250,000 to $500,000 card. And so there's a lot of things going on that side. And then I wanted to touch on one thing in our state, Jeff. There was a card show called Hobby Slam in Miami this past weekend, and it was a pretty big show that was advertises, having lots of tables and lots of vendors and people nationally coming. And there was actually 2 other big shows this weekend, and it's just kind of another topic, kind of transitioning over to is the amount of card shows that are popping up across the country. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is I heard that show in Miami was not very well attended. They didn't sell out all the tables, and so it makes me think that maybe we're transitioning into a little bit of too much, right? A little bit too much, with a lot of people trying to cash in, hosting these shows, and not to knock any of those guys in mind, because those guys are great guys who run that show. But I just wonder if we're getting to a point where people are getting too greedy now. We're starting to see some of those trends that we saw in the 90s where everybody was doing it. It was always going on. And so I think we're kind of transitioning and thinking a little bit more about, hey, maybe we need to tone back a little bit, make things a little less regular. I know that we decided that with our big show up here in South Carolina. We're just going to do it twice a year at this facility. We're not going to do it 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times a year. So that's kind of one of those things that I'm thinking about more and more as I think about the hobby. Are we starting to get to a point where we're oversaturating certain things? Card production runs, card shows. We're starting retail product that's available in Walmarts and Targets, things like that. So a lot of things to talk about. I'd love to hear what you guys think about in the comments on all those topics. I don't have a lot of time to speak about it today because we want to get Jimmy on here from JSA, which I'm really excited about. For those of you who know something about autographs or who don't know anything about autographs, this man is just a legend. He's just so good in talking about autographs and signatures. And I think that you should definitely save this podcast and go back and listen to the kind of nuggets that he's going to drop for us. So looking forward to speaking to Jimmy in a few moments.
Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome. And speaking of the ways you can listen, of course, do it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter Live, so many different ways. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, 39 different platforms where you can watch and listen to us. And remember, you still have an opportunity to win those Steve Spurrier autograph cards. Just got to go back and watch that first episode, place a little comment in there. Jameel's got all the answers for you. They may not be always right, but he'll say them the right way. That is what he does. And, Jameel, I think it's a great point. You never want to get oversaturated with anything, and that would certainly be a fear because, again, I'm one of those guys that grew up in that era where I thought I got a really cool card, and then a million other people across the country got the same card. So yeah, I hope you don't get to that point of being oversaturated. It's been fun to learn from you over the last couple of years and all the great things, and to search out for that golden ticket like you mentioned. And I do have a question on that. So I'm not sure how that Volpe was found, but you do a lot of stuff where you open stuff, within the store, or people are opening it right in front of you. But what if I was the dad that bought a box and I brought it home to my 12-year-old kid, and then he ends up opening this and may or may not know what he had? It just could have been one of those random things out of the blue. How do you then, if you're that person that gets a really special card, do you take it to a card shop like you, somebody like, what's the best means of getting this to be authenticated or known what they really have?
I think a lot of people now, it's a great question. I think a lot of people now know to grade cards and they can send them off. Or a lot of people like a card like that, they may fly out to PSA and do a day grading thing and pay the fee because they know how valuable it is, or go to Beckett or go to SGC. So I think a big thing now is grading those cards. But I do find that in the card shop, the education standpoint of people actually knowing what they pull. People will come in with cards sometimes, stacks of stuff they open, and they didn't really do their research on it. And then you look and you say, hey, yo, this is a short print, or this card's worth $50 and it looks like a base card, or, did you know this autograph is short print, or this guy who, it's a kicker who doesn't sign much, or a lineman who doesn't sign much is actually worth $30, not $2 like you think it is. So there's so much in that. And I encourage people always just immerse yourself in the card shops and the card shows, be around people, ask questions. There's so much stuff on the internet. We have a YouTube channel. This Meelypod Hobby Podcast has some old episodes of our old YouTube channel, which was the card shop show. And it just kind of went through exactly all those things, talking about trade nights, how to trade, talking about grading, how to comp things. And we'll get into all that with this podcast as we progress. But there's an education side of it. And, that's why the card shop is so important. That's why you can bring the stuff, get the question answered, and find people that are going to be fair with you and tell you, what the stuff is worth.
All right, well, I've got a lot of questions for Jimmy. We've got some rapid fire ready for him, as well as that's always a favorite from some of our guests. So let's take a break. We'll bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Spence from JSA. That'll happen right after this on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
This is Jameel, owner of the Meelypop shop, Gainesville's home for collectibles of all sorts, including every single type of sports cards, whether it be Panini, Topps, Leaf, Upper Deck. We have it. Come on in, get yourself a box, a pack, get yourself some supplies, get into our breaks, get your Pokemon, get your Yu-Gi-Oh! All the other different kinds of TCG products that we carry and shop are always fully in stock. You can find our stuff on our website as well, meelypops.com. That's another way you can interact with the store, or you can just come into the shop. We're located off 39th Avenue by I-75 behind Walgreens and Sonny's. Stop on by. We're open every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can check us out on our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd love to see you. Come on out to the shop, have some fun, be a part of the card community here in Gainesville, and always go Gators.
We're back, episode 4 of the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, and I'm in South Carolina. Jeff is in Gainesville, and we have our upcoming guest from, I think he's in Fort Lauderdale. We'll ask him. But we're looking forward to bringing on Jimmy Spence from JSA. He's been a good friend of just the hobby in general. He's been a good friend of Meelypops and the shop, and he's a wealth of knowledge. And so we're honored and privileged to have Jimmy Spence III with us. Jimmy, are you there?
Jameel, what's going on? Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, man. Looking good. You're looking good, buddy. How's life? Are you in Fort Lauderdale right now?
I am. I'm at our Fort Lauderdale office, staying busy. We seems like we get busier every week, especially with this this new acquisition by CCG.
A whole new world of JSA, right? I mean, we have this the Transformer, coming into this real big powerhouse now with Certified Collectibles Group and JSA. So share a little bit about that. I don't know if people really, know a lot about that. There was a lot of news going on with PSA and SGC at that time. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about that and what your expectations are.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So, it always, it's going back 5 years ago, I've always saw, a synergy with CGC Comics and JSA. I know they weren't authenticating signatures on comic books. They were actually putting writing on cover, even if it was a real Stan Lee or a real Jack Kirby. So I had approached one of their lead graders, comic graders at a Comic-Con. I said, it'd be a wonderful idea if we did some kind of joint venture with each other. And it turned into, 2 years of going back and forth. And we were acquired by CCG. It was a perfect fit, with their resources and all the different things they do. They don't not only do comic books, but they do coins, they do stamps, they do currency, they do trading cards, obviously. And, we just saw the perfect marriage there. So, and it worked out because we have always needed to launch encapsulation. I mean, I think that was the most anticipated service that everybody was waiting for with JSA. So it's been great. I mean, April 1st was the day that we announced, and everything's been going very, very smooth. They're a wonderful company to work with.
So you bring up some of the current and where JSA has come. For people who don't know, would you mind kind of giving a little backstory about JSA, where you guys started, how it all started, and then of course just how you got into this? There's an element of people who love the hobby and love things, but you really love autographs, and so I think people would love to hear how you got into this.
Yeah, no, I do. In fact, it's in my blood. My great-grandfather collected autographs in the 30s. My grandfather collected autographs. He was more of a stamp collector, but he did collect autographs. And my father picked up collecting autographs in the 70s. Used to write to all the players in the mail, and Carl Yastrzemski used to throw away his rookie cards. Notorious. He would never sign anything through the mail, but he's got 1,000 stories. But yeah, he was an autograph dealer in the late 80s and built up a reputation of knowing autographs, knowing real autographs from the secretarial autographs. I mean, it was the Wild West back in the late 80s and the 90s. And he did help launch our competitor, PSA DNA, in 1999. 2005, he launched JSA. And in 2007, right after I graduated from University of Pittsburgh, I saw the opportunity. I saw his passion, obviously, for autographs, and I've always had that passion, going to all the local card shows and traveling all over the country with my dad, doing those shows and learning all the baseball Hall of Famers, the NFL Hall of Famers, and so I had a very, very good base, and I just saw that opportunity of where JSA was going in its infancy. So I started in January of 2007, traveling all over the place. And I was going down to Florida about once a month. And I was talking to my father. I said, we should open up a second office. And what better of an area would it be than South Florida? Because I was going down there so often. So in August of 2012, we opened up JSA Florida. We've been here ever since. And about 3 months ago, we worked out a deal with CCG. And now, we're able to encapsulate comic books. We launched that service. That service is doing wonderful. In fact, we're processing 1,000 signed comic books every single week.
Wow.
So yeah. So that's kind of in short, that's the history of the James Spences and JSA and where we are now. But there's actually 4 James Spences, even though I'm the third. My great grandfather, his first and last name was James Spence. It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
it's a great history lesson.
Yeah, amazing stuff. And Jimmy, I'm sitting here listening to it all, and you always get those questions sometimes during our summer radio shows of who would you invite to a table to sit there and just pick their brain. I think you're now at the table because all these questions that I have, and a million of them of so many different things. I grew up in South Florida, so I was around all those spring training places from West Palm to Port St. Lucie, and all these great people would come through. So I would go down and get autographs a bunch. bunch. So just seems like it would be a great way to do it. But, Jameel has kind of schooled me from my experiences 30 years ago with some terminology. So I wanted to hit you up with some, because if I don't know it, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that may not know it either. So if I could just, ask you a few of these, please explain them. What TPA is.
Oh, TPA is short for third-party authenticator. So there's only a few of us out there that are reputable, but it makes sense to, if you have any valuable autograph that you ever want to sell and reach its maximum value, you have to get it properly authenticated. Even though you got it in person, I've talked to a lot of old school dealers that have a wonderful inventory of real autographs, and it takes them a bit to finally get their items authenticated, because they're just not used to it. It didn't exist when they were dealers. They all sold based on their reputation. So, but it's absolutely necessary if you want to reach that, the full potential of the autograph. And Jameel can explain it. And it's almost come to the point where you get every autograph authenticated, of a certain value of $20 or more, because it just not only, sells for its value, but it will sell. Because there's people that go on eBay and they'll type in, Cecil Fielder, and then they'll type in their favorite authentication company like JSA. So that eliminates everything else that's not authenticated. They don't want to waste their time and possibly buy a forgery, or buy a secretarial version, or buy something that's pre-printed. It's an absolute minefield out there, guys. So if you ever want to get involved in this business, just be smart. Make sure you're dealing with reputable people, and if it's of a certain value, if it's high value, make sure it's properly authenticated for sure.
Yeah. Makes total sense. Another one, Jameel says exemplar a lot. I thought he was talking about how cool I was, but apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, so our exemplar file is one of our most important tools as authenticators. It's not like we have a microscope and we're just looking at the ink under a lens, and then we have a photographic memory, and then we're able to compare and contrast what we think Babe Ruth's autograph should look like in 1932. We have an exemplar file that's over 1 million different files, and it's all in chronological order. Anybody you could possibly think of, famous, infamous, anybody that has any type of notoriety. And it's very, very important when you're authenticating an autograph to compare it to that particular era. I mean, you could look at your social security card, you could see the evolution of your autograph from 30 years ago until now. Your autograph looks almost nothing like it used to. So it's not fair to compare, a Babe Ruth autograph from, in 1948, when the year he passed, to something that he signed in 1923. His autograph did drastically change. And, there's different letter formations and angling and sizing that we look at to determine if the autograph is real.
And this is good for celebrities and everything, I'm assuming. I remember, back on those backfield spring training there in West Palm Beach, I just was randomly walking around, and Christy Brinkley was there doing a photo shoot. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Christy Brinkley. So I got her to sign a baseball bat. She threw a heart on there too. So you could even do stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Christy Brinkley has a wonderful autograph, and that's kept very consistent over the years. You can read every single letter in her name. She's a very gracious signer. She does a lot of the shows now. I believe she does a few Comic-Cons and whatnot. A lot of people like to get her on, National Lampoons with Chevy Chase, that iconic scene. So yeah, we compile all these different exemplars, and a lot of the guys that work with JSA, we're actively going out there and acquiring new exemplars. We go to, the PGA tournaments, we'll go to concerts, we'll go to, all different sports signings, and we're constantly building up our exemplar file. So it always stays current, and we have the new star in golf, or the new celebrity that just came out in a breakthrough movie. So it's an ever evolving, never ending project, the exemplar file. And we, at JSA, we're experts in certain fields. One authenticator doesn't know everything. It's impossible. There's too many autographs out there. So some of us focus on entertainment autographs. Some of us focus on just baseball. Some of us focus on just vintage baseball. and then you have your modern baseball guys. So there's just so much to know and so much to study. And that's what I truly love about this business, and that's how passionate I am, because it's just it's never the same. I'm constantly learning from my teammates, from different things I read on the internet, and it's a wonderful hobby, and I highly recommend it as far as investing and your money and diversifying. Sports collectibles, and Jameel can attest to this, have gone up in value, especially since COVID.
Well, then it seems like this last one would then just put it all together, but encapsulation seems like pretty significant what you guys are doing.
Yeah, Jeff, that is the most anticipated service that JSA is about to launch for trading cards. I've been asked this question numerous times every single day. When is JSA encapsulating signed trading cards? In fact, people have been holding off sending them to our competitor because they want it in a JSA slab. So we're bracing ourselves for impact with the amount of submissions that are about to hit us. And like I said earlier, the comics have done wonderful, and that's CGC's game. CGC is the world leading comic book creator in the world. I mean, I flew out to Dubai and I saw CGC everywhere. They really once they launched their service with us, when they were able to encapsulate and we were able to authenticate the signed comic books, we're processing 1,000 comic books a week. So this service is extremely popular. Now you add trading cards to the mix. So we're gonna have to rearrange our chessboard a little bit and make sure that we're able to keep up with the demand, because we know how important it is for turnaround time. With turnaround time on letters of authenticity, turnaround time for encapsulation. That's like one of the biggest complaints I hear out there. When people need stuff certified, is how quickly can I get this back so I can sell it at the appropriate time. The Boston Celtics just won the championship. The Florida Panthers just won the championship. People need to have their authenticated product out there while it's hot, while the emotions are flowing through everybody, so they can reach that that full potential.
So I think, Jeff, I was one of the guys Jimmy's referring to back when I first started setting up at card shows, and I said to him, "Man, I need to get this slab. Can you do it for me?" And he'd always say to me, "It's coming, it's coming." And so to hear this news is exciting, because it's not only for me as a card shop owner now, and someone who has this point of view where I look at the market. I think we're in desperate need of a new slab for trading cards with a reputable company from an autograph authentication. And now we have, these CGC slabs, which I'd love to hear more about these too, Jimmy, as we talk about it, but you have all of that combined into one. And you mentioned too about the, CGC signature series prior to where it's at now. You're no longer going to have these, arbitrary, name on front or label on, or whatever it is that they had on the labels. You now have the JSA stamp of approval. So that goes, leaps and bounds, farther, because you've mentioned so much just prior there about how you guys study the exemplar, how you create new exemplar. And I get the one question I get a lot is, well, how do they know? How do they know it's real or fake? And I say, first off, it's their opinion. But second, these guys study this. There's an art to this. There's so much from errors of autographs and things that you just mentioned. So looking forward to the trading card explosion that's going to probably happen with CGC and JSA. So just to follow up on that, my hobby mind starts going everywhere. And I'm not sure how many of these questions you can answer or can't answer, but feel free to elaborate on this. So the slab that these cards are going to be put in, are they going to be similar to the current CGC slabs, that clear acrylic that we see, or are they going to be different in any way?
Yeah, so they're going to be very, very similar. And you guys can check this out on eBay. You type in JSA CGC, and you could see the new product with the comic books. It's going to have the same look, the same feel. The slab itself, I'm looking at one right now in my office, and it's signed by Jeremy Bullock. It's a Star Wars comic, and it feels absolutely amazing. What they do is they image the front and the back of the comic book too. So there's a QR code on the back. You scan that. A full description of your comic book populates on the CGC website, and it also has those high quality images. So, like JSA, they go above and beyond making sure that, this stuff is, you can't replicate it. And that's our job, is to make sure that, our letters of authenticity aren't replicated. And certainly we don't want anybody, cracking out a signed card and putting in a fake one. So they go through a lot of research and development. They've been doing this for many, many years, the encapsulation. Jameel, to answer your question, to get the best look until we, do a press release on this, and the anticipated launch date is July 11th, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's going to be around that time frame. It's going to be before the national. And, you can see like how it's going to look and feel. We'll be able to launch that press release out there, but it'll be very, very similar to what we did with the CGC JSA Comics Lab.
That's great. I mean, I think it's going to be awesome. Trading cards, as you know, it's so much easier to collect from a storage standpoint. So the inundation you guys are going to have, I better say my prayers for all the thousands of cards that you're going to get inundated with, because I know people have been waiting for this. And so it's going to be really cool to see, and not just in the sports card space. A big thing that our shop has grown in is that TCG space. And to see, these voice actors that sign, we did a signing with Veronica Taylor, the voice of Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. And, I just got to meet Charles Martinet. He's the voice of Mario and Luigi and Waluigi and Wario and all the Nintendo. And like, these kinds of things are going to become so inundated into the culture. You mentioned internationally, and I'm sure it's huge, internationally as well. So looking forward to seeing it, man. Congrats on that. I think it's going to be great. Some breaking news in a way for us to kind of share that with the world. So I'm excited. So I know I'm not going to get this. This is the next follow-up. Is going to be, will there be a card grading option? So will people then be able to get their card aftermarket signed by, say, Wyatt Langford, or Jack Caglione, and then be able to submit it to CGC, get the JSA stamp of approval, and then also grade it? Will that be an option?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, you'll be able to not only grade the card, but you'll be able to grade the autograph. So I think that's a wonderful way of just enhancing the value of something that you believe is a 10. And then if you have an autograph that's a 10, it'll get a pristine 10 CGC JSA label, which is fantastic. So you always have to have, the best of the best. And you're always going to have a collector that wants that. That's something that sets apart from everything else. So we're going to have those options available. But I'm excited for it. Again, Jameel, the thing I'm worrying about is how many are about to come at us, because I have so many of my dealer friends that are just sitting on tens of thousands of cards, and they said, Jimmy, I'm not going to submit these to anyone else other than JSA. That's who I trust. That's who I believe in. And so that, it's flattering, but you just want to make sure that you're able to, not implode. So I have a few authenticators that are assigned to this project that are going to be they're going to be responsible for making sure that everything goes smooth. And our job is to make sure that we're authenticating real autographs and failing fake ones. We want to keep the value of the real autographs high. That is our job in this industry, and we're prepared for it.
Well, and Jimmy,
that's great news, man.
Yeah, and obviously you guys do an outstanding job, and just the family history of what you guys have been able to do and see. I sit here and I'm fascinated. You look up in your office, you've got this great piece there, but are there a few pieces or just one piece that maybe you or your dad or grandpa, like over the years, you're just like in awe of, like, holy cow, this thing is pretty sweet, like that you've been able to actually like physically touch?
Yeah, no, Jeff, we have some incredible things. In fact, we were able to recover my great grandfather's autograph collection. It was never with us until about 4 or 5 years ago. An auction house gave us a call and said, hey, you need to come down here immediately. We have something that you're going to be very interested in. And it just so happened to be my great grandfather's autograph collection. So
Wow.
it was pretty wild news, and we were able to acquire it. And within that collection were a lot of really cool things, but I think the coolest was an envelope that was signed by Babe Ruth. He had written to Babe Ruth in the 30s, and Ruth actually responded back and signed the envelope. And it looked like the envelope was never opened. So my father in his office up in New Jersey went to open the envelope, and there was another piece of paper in there with my great grandfather's autograph request. It was a type letter stationery with the date and everything like that. And Ruth actually not only signed the envelope, but he signed that piece of paper in there. So there were 2 Babe Ruths in there that he got when he sent out a through the mail request. So I think that might be one of the coolest pieces that we have in our family. And my great grandfather worked at Yankee Stadium. He sold beer in the stands. My grandfather also worked in Yankee Stadium and sold beer and peanuts. So it's in my blood to be a Yankees fan too.
Oh, that's incredible. So back when beer was like 5 cents, and now it's $50.50 for one. But the good old days. Well, speaking of stuff, I have something with me, and it's a neat little story, I guess. But I'm a little fearful now of how precious everything is and how we're going through stuff. But back in the day when I was in high school, I worked as a Publix bagger. And I actually worked in Jupiter, so it was cool. Like Joe Namath would come in, and I'd bag his groceries. So I know I have for a fact a Joe Namath autograph ball that I've kept. But Burt Reynolds would come in, and different guys, and some golfers, Greg Norman over the years, Nicholas. But I didn't really like that stuff. I was a Gator fan. Like both my parents went to Florida, so I would go to this card shop that was close by on my lunch break a few times, and they had this Emmitt Smith signed photo. And, I'm making, $3-4 an hour. So it took me a couple of paychecks to load up and actually get this thing. But I finally, for like $120, bought this Emmitt Smith signed photo. It had the little thing on the back. This is certified to be real by whatever card shop it was. And, I won't call that place out now because it's not in existence anymore. But, is that something you can send in, or could you take it into Jameel and he look at it or were those a lot of fakes way back then where, the $120, it was really, really good to me. I feel like I've wasted it now.
Yeah, we you're always welcome to mail autographs in, if you can't make an event. But I think the coolest way to get an autograph authenticated and you save it from shipping is to meet us at these on-site events. And we're at Meelypops, I'd say twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. And we're looking forward to going to your South Carolina location too, Jameel. But we're always at the Gainesville location, and my teammates AJ and John, they'll be able to take care of you there. But that's a good way to just save on shipping and just make sure that you're handing it to JSA. You come in, you fill out a submission form, you come back 2 hours later, everything is done. We give you the results. Sometimes we give unfortunate results, but the best thing is the peace of mind. You know exactly what you have. If your Emmitt Smith is good, if it's bad, that way you're not going to be able to, you're not going to hand it to your kids and say, hey, this is worth $500, hold on to it for a rainy day. You know exactly what you have there. But yeah, with Emmitt Smith's autograph, especially in the early 90s, and this goes back to the beginning of this conversation where autographs and autograph collecting is like the Wild West. There were so many forgeries out there, and Emmitt was obviously on top of the world in the early 90s. So you can't imagine how many forgeries were being pumped out every single day. Just because the demand was so high, him and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. But yeah, they're especially on like photos or anything cheap. Forgers are cheap people. They're always going to go for something that's less of value. They're not going to get a Wilson official NFL football and try to forge 1,000 of them. They're going to go for like the logo footballs. They're going to go for like a cheaper football, the composite footballs and stuff that. I'm not saying that an expensive football is never forged. There's certainly forgers that are very confident in themselves, but you always have to worry about the cheaper stuff. If you pick up a photograph and it feels like computer paper, or it feels like something homemade, that's a red flag, guys. And be careful with that kind of stuff. Because if you're going to get Emmitt Smith to sign a photograph, you're going to buy an official NFL licensed photograph, right? I mean, what does the guy charge for his autograph? $300-$400? Yeah. So you want to do it right.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing that we're noticing, right? We're seeing that in the shop more than ever as people coming in. I think you just mentioned it. If it's too good to be true, right? I mean, if you're finding stuff online on eBay and it's too good to be true, it's probably not going to pass a TPA, right? It's probably not going to pass JSA, standards. Are there diamonds in the rough? Yeah, sure. There are things out there that you can find here and there. But the truth is, majority of the time, a lot of that, fails. And you brought up JSA and shop. I don't know if you know, Jimmy, July 6th, you got you guys coming in. AJ and team will be there. So it's just around the corner. I have a ton of people asking, when are they going to be in? When are they going to be in? I got these baseballs. So I'm excited for us to host you guys in July. We're trying to do 3 times a year. It's always scheduling. I know you guys are so busy, but for those of you who aren't local in North Florida, South Georgia, Central Florida, come on July 6th to the shop. They'll be in-house. You can bring your stuff. You don't have to ship it, and you can hang out and check out the shop too. So that'll be pretty cool. Well, I brought some PC items, Jimmy, and I know I'm in South Carolina, so Jeff has them. I had my wife drop them off so we could show them off. But I brought a couple baseballs, and I thought what would be cool is you appreciate autographs to the nth degree. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about what you enjoy about these autographs when you see them. And by the way, all the baseballs that you're about to see are JSA certified. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the signature, maybe the quality of it, and as well as maybe some things to look out for with forgeries and fakes that you've noticed over the years. So maybe we could start with the one that I just see all the time, and I've seen some really bad ones, but we can start with the Mick, Jeff, if you have it there. We'll put it up on screen and we'll show the autograph as well. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, Mickey Mantle's autograph was heavily forged in the 90s. Operation Bullpen. You read all about that big FBI bust in Southern California with the Marino family. I think they did like an HBO documentary on it. But it was probably one of the most prolific forgery rings in autograph collecting existence. So you have a ton of forgeries out there. Those are probably the most easily detectable because they're just everywhere. It's the same style over and over and over again. But people have gotten very, very sophisticated with Mantle's autograph. In fact, now what we see people are doing is they have these auto pen machines, and you're able to buy an auto pen machine on Amazon. And what it does is you program a real autograph into this computer, into this machine, and the auto pen will take a pen and it'll sign it exactly the way that you whatever autograph you programmed in there. And there's a few telltales, that we always pick up on. But if you're looking on eBay, browsing on eBay, I mean, it's very, very deceiving. So you got to be careful with that. Noticed a spike in value with Mantle's signature. Jameel, I'm sure you had to raise some prices after COVID. Mantle on baseballs. What do they go for now? I mean, you'd be better to answer that question.
Mantles that are on pearls, mantles that look really good, clean, sweet spots that are just authenticated, not graded. Are typically in that $1,000 to $1,500 range, depending on the type of ball and where the signature's at. The graded ones go up even more, as you know. And some of the dirtier balls, which I see, where they have this little bit of staining, or maybe there's some other somebody else signed it that's not as keen. They're selling anywhere between $500 to $1,000. So I know prior to COVID, like you said, those were $300, $400, maybe $500, and doubling and tripling in value. I've definitely seen post COVID.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that just goes to show you, what a wonderful investment this stuff is. It's a tangible asset, something you could show off to your friends. You can have a conversation with somebody about. It's not just, a portfolio that, there's nothing to hold there, in your Apple stock. I mean, it's something that I always encourage, to collect and, be smart about it, buy a good value. But most importantly, enjoy it. And I certainly think Mantle is a great investment, especially on specialty items. Like if you can find a real glove, or if you can find a bat, those I see go up in value tremendously.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with items in the medium. I always tell people what's it signed on, and Jeff got Caglione's autograph on a scorecard you mentioned earlier in this, and so I think when you can make the item more unique. It always appeals in a different way. And a big thing that I've seen too, and we're in this baseball kick here, but you're seeing a lot of people get autographs on baseball that are not baseball players, right? We have this huge contingent of, I know people who collect presidentials on baseballs. I know people who collect basketball players on baseballs. And so it's kind of a cool medium to showcase. I think people like how they can present that to people as well. So there are trends too that you can kind of catch. But like you said, if you get Mantle on a bat or a glove or something, a hat or something unique, does really well. All right, so staying with the Yankees, I brought my guy Mariano. He's been a friend of the shop. He has a ministry in town in Gainesville. He's just a really, really good dude. They shout out to him and what they do, the Mariano Rivera Foundation. They really kind of tutor and just bring up young guys in the foster care system that have not had a chance. It's a really cool group. But he's come to the shop a few times, and I love the Sandman. I love him. I love what he represents. And this signature, with the detail on it, you just don't see it anymore at all, right? I mean, him and Jeter are in a kind of class of the 90s by themselves because they were so just they made their signature their own. So what do you like about Mariano's signature? And I would think that's a hard one to fake.
Jameel, he's my favorite signature. If people ask me what is your favorite signature to look at, and that's Mariano Rivera, it's absolutely beautiful. It's a work of art. He's very gracious. I don't think I've ever heard a bad experience when somebody met Mariano Rivera, and that says a lot with the amount of pressure that guy received while he was in New York. Just a phenomenal baseball player, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, certainly one of the greatest closers of all time, and gorgeous autograph. Even his earlier stuff. I mean, if you see some stuff signed in like the early 90s, it just kept very consistent with every single letter in his name. And the fact that it has such a beautiful autograph, he's such a cool dude, I think helps the value of his autograph, in addition to his career and his career stats and his Hall of Fame status. That I think that adds value. Where everybody just says nothing but positive things about that guy. It does enhance the value of his autograph.
Yeah, no, it's great. And to stay in that kind of 90s realm, I brought one more ball that I think it's so cool because you think about the 1989 Upper Deck star rookie Ken Griffey Jr. We actually talked about that last week on the last podcast with Dr. Farmer, and just kind of how iconic it's become. And I'm starting to see it now in the card world where everybody has those. So now everybody's searching for his autograph on cards or different mediums. So there's a Ken Griffey Jr. ball that I have, and it's just really cool to kind of see because I have noticed there have been a lot of fakes of that have come through the shop recently in the last probably 2-3 years. And I'm not sure if more and more people are just saying, hey, look, this is a popular guy that we want to try and forge. But Ken Griffey Jr., I'd love to see your thoughts on him too.
Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. was my favorite baseball player growing up. I collected all the starting lineups. I had his rookie card when I can afford one, and then I got the card signed. 20 years later, which was really, really cool.
Wow.
I absolutely, I love his autograph. That stayed pretty consistent over the years. He shortened it up a little bit. Once he got to be a red, I noticed that he did shorten up, but he dropped a few letters of his name. But be very careful with collecting Ken Griffey Jr. on any type of earlier baseballs because he was in that same wave. I talked about the Operation Bullpen scandal in the late 90s. Well, that's when Ken Griffey Jr. was super popular. That 90, from like 93 to 99. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. was on fire. Everybody wanted his autograph. So the same people that were forging Manels on all those, baseballs, where they also included Ken Griffey Jr. in there. So be extremely careful with that. The forgers were good then. They're better now. And there's certain things to notice, with Ken Griffey Jr.'s autograph. He's got a very light touch to his autograph. He likes to drag his pen. He likes to drag, certain letters into the following letters. His transition is very fluid. There's really no hard stops or anything like that. So there's certain things that we look at as authenticators that determine a valid autograph, and fluidity is one of them. And Ken Griffey Jr. exhibits that on a lot of mediums, especially baseballs.
Yeah, so Jimmy, like training wise and understanding that, it's really cool to listen to you because you don't think about that, how hard somebody presses down or how lightly they do, or if they stop or if there's a dot. So I guess some of those things make it harder for forgers if you actually know what you're looking for. So what type of training you and the staff and everybody go through to understand all this stuff?
Yeah, so it's aptitude. There's really no course that you could take in autograph authentication. I can't go to a local university and say I need your best authenticator. There's no class as of right now. I guess, my father would be the one to start a course up in a local university. I'd be surprised how many people would take it. But no, autograph authentication is learned from, it's funny. I like to hire customers because you get a feel of how good of in identifying an autograph and how good they are with determining if a forgery or a secretarial or stuff like that, just in conversation with your customers. So a lot of the times, over the course of the 20 years I've been with JSA, I've been hiring customers just because I saw that aptitude and a lot of the autograph chasers, and they just have a lot of inside knowledge, stuff that I might have never known. If there's like a particular person that's forging this autograph in Seattle, Washington, and it's the same style over and over and over again. So stuff like that. But when we hire somebody, they don't know everything. We're JSA. We're continually compiling all of this information and new exemplars and new information. So when they come aboard, we teach them what we know, and sometimes it takes years. I mean, there's been guys that it's taken 5 years for them to be an official JSA authenticator. It's like getting your black belt in jiu-jitsu. You really have to have the desire to learn, the aptitude, and the skills to pick up on some sophisticated forgeries. So it's an honor when we announce someone as an authenticator that works with JSA.
No doubt.
I'll say this, Jimmy, too, just knowing JSA, the brand, and working with all of your team members, wherever they be, the why of why it isn't passing or why it doesn't match has always been so deep. There's been always just a thoroughness from not just you, but everybody when I talk to different guys. And I'm learning. I always am asking these questions because I look at stuff sometimes and I'm thinking, that actually does look good. And then it fails, And so there's an element to what your brand has brought to the hobby, which is invaluable. And so props to Pops. We're Meelypops, so props to Pops and props to you and the legacy that you got in your grandfather, your great grandfather. That it's been carried on, and we need this in the hobby to the nth degree, man. I mean, we need it more and more these days. So it's exciting to see just the love that you guys have for it, and also the thoroughness that you get with JSA. When you get a JSA sticker on something, I always tell people, I was like, they've done their diligence on that. They've really gone through and checked that. And you can be rest assured that you got authentic stuff. And so substantiation is the word that I use a lot with people. Substantiate your collection. People always want to pass stuff down. People always want to, give something away, but they don't get it authenticated. It's like, well, do that now, so that you can have something that has a tangible, objective value. And that's why there's such a big thing with card grading. So we could talk, man, for days. I love talking to you, brother. This podcast is only we try and keep it around that 45-minute hour mark. So I thought before we head out, we could do a little rapid fire. And I've done this with a couple guests, actually one guest prior. You'll be our second, where I'm just going to ask you some random questions, and I'd love to hear what just comes into your mind as quick as possible. So are you up for it?
Absolutely, man.
All right, let's get into it. First question: weirdest thing you have seen signed?
A signed prosthetic leg, signed by Bowie Kuhn.
Wow. Paint pen or Sharpie?
That was done in a Sharpie. Yeah.
Okay.
It was Bowie Kuhn's prosthetic leg. It was hanging up in a bar, and the bar was liquidating everything, and it got into an auction house. And that was probably the one of the strangest things. I could think of 10 other things, but we'll save that for the next podcast.
I love it. All right, so going back into that, so what do you prefer, a paint pen or Sharpie on just kind of any medium?
It really depends. Paint pen. If you're going to get like a Funko signed, I would say paint pen. A Sharpie. There's certain photos or certain glossy photos that I would prefer Sharpie on. And there's so many different style pens, and a lot of my teammates are always showing me this new pen, this new Art Deco pen that works great on this item. You got to do your research before you get an item signed.
Definitely. Most iconic signature in your mind?
Most iconic signature. I mean, my favorite is Mariano Rivera. I love Marilyn Monroe's signature. I think that's beautiful. Wow. Yeah, It's always a hard question.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's signature, I absolutely love.
Cool.
I collect him dearly.
Wow.
Okay. Jordan, Ruth, or Mantle? Take it for what it is.
So hard to compare. I mean, as far as it's so hard to compare Jordan and Ruth because of how big they were during their time frame and the just worldwide phenomenon. But I think Jordan beats Ruth just with worldwide phenomenon. Like everyone knows who Michael Jordan is.
Got it. All right, this one might be fun for the graphers. 8x10 or 8.5x11?
8x10. I think that's standard. Yeah.
The classic. There you go. What's your favorite drink?
Alcoholic or regular?
Take it for what it is. You could give me one of each.
Okay. Well, I'm a big craft beer guy. I absolutely love IPAs. There's a brewery out in Santa Rosa, California called Russian River. They do a fantastic IPA called Pliny the Elder. If you're ever in the area, make sure you go to that brewery if you love beer and love IPAs. It's fantastic. Regular drinks, I love kombucha. And that stuff makes me feel good. If you haven't drank kombucha before, it's really good for the gut enzymes.
I like it. All right, this might cause some trouble at the Thanksgiving table. Better autograph, you or your dad?
My father has a better autograph than me. Yeah, it's beautiful, and that's why it's part of our logo.
This might also cause some arguments. Fort Lauderdale Beach or the Jersey Shore?
Oh, come on. Is that a question? Don't let Jeff answer that question.
I love it. Your favorite PC signed item?
It would be that the Babe Ruth envelope from my great grandfather. That's just amazing to me, and it's not even the value of Babe Ruth's signature. It's what it means to me and my family.
Classic. That's such a cool story. All right, slop signature or a smudge signature?
Jeez, really depends on the signature because I've seen slop signatures smudged. I don't know. They're both bad. I guess a slop signature. There's nothing worse than a smudge signature.
Gotcha. I think I would agree with that one. All right, worst medium to get something signed on?
Oof. I'm not a big fan of hockey sticks. I think they're just too cumbersome. I get it with all the hockey lovers out there, but how do you store that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, as much as I would love like a Wayne Gretzky game used hockey stick, I don't know. I'd rather have like, a type letter stationery or, like a signed rookie card or something flat that I can put in my safe. But from cumbersome level, I think hockey sticks are just a pain to collect.
They are just the most awkward thing to store and present as well. I 100% agree with that. All right, last question. One signature that Jimmy Spence could have that you don't already have. And I'll add this. It could be in all of history.
Jeez. Wow. That's a tough question. I don't think I've never been asked that question before. Probably, they exist out there. I'm still in search of a George Washington signature. I would absolutely love one of those. William Shakespeare. Those that's a super rare one.
Great one.
I think there's only like 2 or 3 in existence. So that might be the one that I would absolutely love to have.
That's a good answer. I thought I stumped you, but I've never been able to. So you came through that rapid fire pretty good, man. You always have the answers. You always have the good direction. You always have the sound advice. Thank you for what you do in the hobby and what you're doing for everybody in this world with autograph authentication. And for those of you who don't know JSA, you should now, and go back and watch some of the gems Jimmy dropped in this. Go back and listen because it is vital for autograph collecting. Thanks, man. We're looking forward to having you guys in the shop July 6th and bring your stuff out. Any closing remarks? Anything you'd like to say before we head out of here? How they can follow you, maybe, or how they can get in touch with Jimmy Spence online or the website, anything like that?
Yeah. So if you guys ever need anything authenticated, You can follow us at JSA LOA. That's our social handle. You can go onto our website, jsaloa.com. We're going to be launching trading cards very, very soon, signed trading cards for encapsulation. So save those up because this is a wonderful service. We have great customer service. We have, the turnaround time is going to be very, very good. You guys are going to absolutely love the slab, the look and feel of it. You can check out what we've done with the comics. Just type in JSA CGC on eBay and you'll see a little preview of what's going to happen. But I appreciate it, Jameel. It's always good seeing you, man. And I'll have to make it up to Gainesville one of these days and work a store visit with AJ and John.
Yeah, we got to have you come up, man. And you just brought up George Washington. I actually owned one. I sold a George Washington slab cut. I think it was a DNA to start our shop. So it was one of our original signatures we had. So if I had knew back in the day, I would have found you, man. But yeah, he's a cool one for sure. Yeah, cool autograph. And thanks so much.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm a big IPA guy too, so we'll buy you some when you get up here. All right.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, we're gonna have to go to the best local Gainesville brewery. I love that stuff.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, there you have it,
guys. Thank you so much.
Spence.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans. All right, we welcome you back to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. Jeff here in Gainesville, Jameel up in South Carolina, and again, thanks to James Spence III, doing great things, so much knowledge there, and I really encourage everybody to just do it the right way, because then you won't run into the mistake of my 30-plus years of thinking that I had a really cool Emmitt Smith autograph, and then now I can just throw it away. Sad day, Jameel.
I mean, you could still put it up in the man cave and just kind of point to it. It's one of those things that I was a Publix bagger as well, man. We wasted our money and we didn't get a JSA sticker on it. But no. I don't think we mentioned it in the podcast. I think we mentioned it, but Jimmy had already looked at it and told us that it was fake. So for those listeners, it's just an insightful thing when you get these authentication things done. But sorry, man, crush the hopes and dreams.
Yeah, you'll have to wow me with our new wax that's back there and have a really good segment here. Of course, Wax Stack is the easiest way to get real-time price comps of wax boxes, sealed products from your mobile phone, or you can even do it with your laptop. Save money and time. Get the best deal on wax by visiting waxstat.com. Right, which we got some new stuff.
Yeah, there's something that you're gonna love that comes out this week. It's 2024 Panini USA Stars and Stripes baseball. So they take the USA players, they take swatches from jerseys and get autographs. So I'm not sure exactly who's in it. I haven't looked at the checklist just yet, but it's one of these things where last year you could pull. I think Schemes was in it. I think Cruz was in it. Wyatt was in it, or he might have been in the previous year. So it's kind of a cool product. It's very affordable. You can check WaxStat and see how affordable it is. You can buy some from Meelypops.com. But that's a fun release that I know you'd enjoy. You might want to come grab a box. We also have 2024 Leaf Lumber Baseball, which is one of the bigger releases for Leaf because they do a really good job of putting in what they call bat knobs into cards, one-of-one bat knobs. So obviously the bottom of the bat, they cut it and they place it in the card to make it a one-of-one. And there's some really unique names that they've had in these products over the years. Some really just vintage names and modern guys as well. So Leaf Lumber Baseball, I think that comes out Friday. Another big release, which we talked about hockey earlier with Connor McDavid and the Florida Panthers and things going on with that. But there's been another Connor this year that's just blown up in the hobby, and his name's Connor Bedard, the #1 pick for the Chicago Blackhawks. So there's an extended series hockey. We had Series 1 come out, which had a short print. Series 2, which had his true rookie card called the Young Guns, which is pretty much like the Prism rookie, the quintessential rookie card for hockey. And then Series 3, or they call it Extended Series, which is going to have his Canvas rookie card, which is another like really, really, really collectible card in the hockey world. So it's kind of fitting with the Game 7 and all the hoopla with hockey. Now we have a really cool release with hockey this week as well. And then for you soccer lovers, there's a English Premier League Select 23, 24 that's coming out as well. So it's a lot going on in the hobby. We will actually have Alan Terwell next week on the podcast to talk about Wax That, which I'm excited for because he's an industry guy, just like Jimmy today, who is going to provide a lot of insight, I think, on how we can track wax boxes, how we can look at pricing, how we can look at the market in a fair way, because there's so many people that I know go to shops or online that get ripped off in buying wax. So Wax That, obviously they do a great job with what they do, but we're looking forward to having him on next week as well to just kind of talk about that world, where I'm going to ask him some hard questions too about evaluations, and it'll be really good. But since we're here, Jeff, I mean, I got a bunch of wax behind me. I'd love to show you guys our shop here in South Carolina. Not many people have had a chance to come up here and kind of know what's going on. So I'll do my best. I don't want to make it too shaky. Oh, there's my fat finger. Let's do this. All right, that's better. All right, so over here on this wall, I want to walk over here. This is I'll give you guys a different view, but this wall behind me is a wall of Zion Williamson. Let me see. Sorry. Zion Williamson. Kind of get the camera right here. Now, Zion, there's a cool story. You can find the YouTube video. These jerseys are all jerseys that he wore in high school and played in the Adidas Gauntlet, the Path, the McDonald's All-American kind of stuff. There's some shoes as well there that are very rare. Those ones right over there. Let me come over here really quick. These are from SI for Kids cover. He played game use. These actually have game use in them. That's a whole other world of authenticity we can talk about sometime. These are some JBC classics. There's only, I think, 15 pairs of this shoe that exist. And the crazy thing about that is the only other guy that I know that has that is PJ Tucker. And he's, for those of you sneakerheads know, PJ Tucker's the biggest sneakerhead in the NBA. And so really cool. Now, there's a whole backstory to how I got all this stuff. But the real cool thing is what I'm going to show you right now is we're going to actually go out and show you the front door, because that's where the courts where Zion played and where all these guys have played. So that wax wall is behind me. It's pretty massive. But now I'm going to turn around, and now I'm on the courts. So there we go. So you got all the four courts where these guys played. They got camps going off in the back right now, I think, with basketball or volleyball back there. And this is actually the site of our upstate card show that we're going to hold in October, which is going to be really cool, because this entire gym, which is quite a big facility, right? And you can't even see how far back it goes because the nets are down back there. We're going to have a massive card show here. So anyway, there's our garage door that has our logo on it there. And then we have another garage door literally right there that opens up into the store, which is really cool. People can, kind of come in, and I'll go ahead and show you just a little bit more as we walk in. But this is called the Star Center here in South Carolina, Spartanburg, right next to Greenville. But wax goes on for days and days and days and days. So probably about the same amount of selection as our shop in Gainesville, maybe a little less, but we're only 4.5 months open here. So shout out to AR up there in the corner next to Wembenyama, next to Phil Maffa. So we have just a lot of fun here. It's an awesome spot to come. Bring your kids. We get a lot of kids through here, as you can see with the courts, volleyball, basketball. And then what you can't see outside, we actually have football, soccer, beach volleyball. So there's a whole bunch of other, club tournament things that go on back there. So anyway, I'm going to put myself down. That is the South Carolina shop here, Meelypops SC. If you ever get a chance to come out, it's a very unique experience, just being attached right next to these amazing courts.
Well, and I think it's got to be really cool because, as you would imagine with a facility like that, you've had a lot of kids running through there, and you give them the opportunity to, I'm sure, open up some cards, do some different things, and probably even see stuff that they would never even imagine. I can imagine the amount of oohs and ahs if they're looking at Zion jerseys and Zion shoes and that kind of stuff. So, again, I think that's the best part about all this, is because you have an opportunity to welcome a kid in that may have no idea what this hobby is even about, to I guess have them learn a little bit and understand it. You could have just now people doing it for the rest of their lives because of the impact you can make.
Absolutely. And the opportunity that we have, the responsibility we have to teach them the right way of, the hobby. And there are kids that have never opened a pack of cards before, right? So that have come through here, and, we try and reward the kids the best we can. And it's just really cool to see, those moments of innocence of opening their first pack, and how they enjoy just ripping, right? How they enjoy just looking at cards and that whole world. So anyway, it's a cool opportunity, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this can grow, how we can impact the community up here like we have in Gainesville. So we got a upstate area for Meelypops, and we have a North Florida area for Meelypops. So the brand continues to grow, and hopefully this podcast too will be a big part of that in uniting both of these shops and the brand across the country.
Yeah, and if that continues, Jameel, obviously the growth is big time, and what you're doing for the youth is really, really good. So if people want to get involved in this podcast, what are some of the ways that they can do it and reach out to you and find out how they can be an advertiser and be a part of this thing?
Well, you can just contact us mainly through either myself or Freddie. The shop meelypops@gmail.com is probably the best way to do it. Or Freddie's email has popped up a gazillion times on this podcast, where you can contact him and let him know if you want to be a part of this, because it's more than just the podcast. It's education, it's community based, and it's really hopefully trying to build something that is lasting. So we'd love to have you. You can reach us through, of course, our Instagram. Shop Meelypops is a great way to communicate with me directly. We have an Instagram here as well. It's called SC Meelypop, so you can reach out to the team here as well. But we'd love to get you involved in this podcast in some way, shape, or form. If you don't want to advertise and you want to do some giveaways, we love that as well too. So looking forward to growing it, man. And we had amazing guests on today. Another one, Jimmy Spence, JSA, the major name worldwide in autograph authentication. People don't realize that. They think like, oh, it's a big thing. No, you got JSA, you got PSA DNA, and some people use Beckett BAS. That's it. That's really all you got in terms of it. And they're all located in our country. So we are the epicenter for autograph authentication when it comes to different companies doing it.
Yeah, we'll have Alan Terwell again next week from Waxstat to be able to give some more knowledge about all this. We'll have throughout the summer a lot of athletes that'll come and be a part of this. And as you sit there and you go around, and even from my time out in Omaha, I'm intrigued by how many people are looking for autographs, and how cool it was for the Gator baseball players and really all the teams. You sat there and you watched, and I'd interact with a lot of the coaches from the other teams, and certainly the radio guys and everybody else, that how many fans just wanted a picture or that autograph or just that opportunity to meet somebody, or certainly to get a foul ball. That's like the biggest thing during all the batting practices and everything else that's going on. So there's a lot of really cool things, and just the athletes themselves, they actually like doing this and being a part of this. They love the fan interaction, and they're investing in the hobby industry. They're collectors, just like me, the dork, is trying to get my collection up and do all this other stuff. So I think it'll be fun to have some of those athletes on there tell you their stories of how they got their first card or the first autograph they signed and things like that. So we'll certainly make this fun and very interactive with everybody as we continue this thing to grow.
Well, I'm excited. I got the golden voice involved. So, thank you for being a part of it, man. Looking forward to seeing the Gator football as we get it. That's right around the corner, right? We have Gator football right around the corner, and just what happens in our town. So that'll be fun as well. And Olympics coming up. Looking forward to that with all the Gator athletes in that, as well as the NFL and college football right around the corner. We're right there, right knocking on the door. So a lot of sports to come, and thankful for the fact that we can talk about it and enjoy this hobby together, man.
Yep. So again, watch and listen to us live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter Live, 39 different platforms where you get your favorite podcasts. So make sure you tune in and tell your friends all about it. Well, Jameel, great stuff as always, and enjoy the rest of your time up there in South Carolina. Stay cool. It's getting hot up there. It was 104 for first pitch of the College World Series final the other day in Omaha. So get out there, and I guess there's got to be some little mountains or some whitewater rafting you can do and throw the Speedo on and have a good time.
I'll get the Speedo on, yeah. Hey, I just got to just be careful. When I come back, I better find those baseballs back in the shop. I know I saw you eyeing them earlier, that Rivera and that Mantle. So
it is a very pretty autograph.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, thanks, man. I think that's a wrap for episode 4. We've already made it to 4.
How about that? We'll do 5 next week for you. For Jameel, I am Jeff. You've been listening to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Thursday at noon.